Okay, so I've been meaning to get to this video for a while, but I unlocked every single secondary weapon in Battlefield 4, and it did take a while because you have to grind obsessively with the pistol. But yeah, anyway, starting first, we got the SIG P226, and it's the first gun you get, and it is pretty solid, not a bad gun, and I do like it a lot. It's very manageable, it has a quick reload, and it's got a nice rate of fire. So as far as all the pistols go, they come into three categories: the semi-automatic magazine-fed pistols, the revolvers, and then that one shotgun. So I do rapid fire every single gun, and my trigger finger did not get tired, over the course of this video. So really, some guns just shoot faster than other guns, and the patches are constantly changing the damage output, the drop-off output, the fire rates. So I don't really care to specify what any of those stats are, because they actually change a little bit. So just go to Synthic and take a look at it. Really, it's more about feel and capacity, and is the weapon right for you? So a pistol that'll be accurate and good for one person might be terrible and horrible for another person. So take all of what I'm about to say, with kind of a grain of salt, and it's not... None of this is set in stone, but really it's just an idea to see if the gun you're waiting to unlock, is it actually worth unlocking, or should you stick to the one you currently have? Is that extra bullet or that little stat theoretically as good as, what you're seeing before you? So, yeah, I do rapid fire every gun, and this is the rapid fire with the Beretta M9. So the Beretta and the SIG P226 are actually so incredibly similar that, I feel like you could go with either or, and they're both fine. I have a hard time deciding which I prefer, because honestly they're both so similar. They're both 9mm, they both do the same damage model output, and they both have the same drop-off distance. To be perfectly honest, I have spent virtually no time with this QSZ92, so this is one of the first times I ever played with it. And while it's not a terrifyingly bad gun, there's just nothing to really write home about. So, yeah, if you pick this gun up off a dead guy, it would not be the worst thing. But at the same time, it's not like, oh, cool, I wouldn't be completely ecstatic about it. That being said, I don't actually think this is that bad a pistol. I would consider this kind of medium, like mid-range. I do consider this kind of like a middle-of-the-road pistol. So while I feel like it's not the best, it's not the worst, it's just kind of average. So in some ways, average is actually worse than being a really good or really terrible pistol, but, there you have it. As far as rapid firing, it's pretty decent. It seems a little snappier than, say, the SIG P226, so I don't know. What is actually next on the list? Normally the shotgun would be the next thing you would unlock, but I'm actually going to save that for last because it's so different from the other pistols. So, moving on to the MP443, this is from Battlefield 3, and I'm actually not sure what the caliber of this is off the top of my head. I'm going to assume it's a 9mm, but it might not be. But yeah, this is very similar to the QSZ in that, while not the worst, it's also not the best, and nothing really to write home about. It has an incredibly similar damage model to the SIG and the Beretta M9. So it kind of gets into one of those things where some of these pistols, I hate to say it for lack of a better term, but like some of these pistols just kind of feel like different reskins. And I know they're not, because the fire rate's a little different, and things are a little different, but for the most part they're very similar. So this gun holds 18 bullets, but then the Beretta holds 16 or 17, and they're all semi-auto, and they reload about the same, and they got about the same amount of recoil, and so on that level they're all very similar. This is the Glock 18, so this goes into the specialty category of being kind of like it's fully automatic, so really it's more like a submachine gun, but honestly it's a really shitty submachine gun. So, this is one of those things where I'm like, it's not really a pistol, and then it's not really a good submachine gun. Like, as you can see, hitting something at 40 meters away, it's hard to even get a single bullet on it, even though I fired like 40 in that direction, reasonably close. Like, yeah, it's not tremendously accurate. It's not the way you're supposed to fire the gun, but you get the idea. So, this thing is very specific. Sometimes I carry it, but rarely, because, I don't know, typically I just don't need this kind of secondary weapon. And in full auto, you just run out of ammo so quickly that it's just not that helpful. One thing I did learn, though, is the semi-auto on this gun, this gun has an amazing cycle rate. And I feel like there isn't a single gun in the game that I can fire faster, like shot for shot, trigger pull for trigger pull. So that is something to maybe keep in mind with the Glock 18, is that it is one of the fastest firing guns not in full auto. So I don't really like this gun in full auto, but I kind of like it in single shot. This is the Sam Fisher Splinter Cell gun. It's the FN57. So Before I did this video, if you had asked me what my favorite pistol was, I probably would have said the Compact 45, but after doing this video and spending a lot of time playing with the pistols, I honestly feel like it's a toss-up between the Glock 18 and then this one, the FN57. And to be perfectly honest, if I didn't own a Glock in real life, it would probably be the FN57, but I'm slightly a fanboy with Glocks, and so because I have one in real life, it's kind of fun to run around with one in Battlefield. But yeah, honestly, if I didn't have a Glock, I think this FN57 would actually be my go-to pistol. The damage output is lower than, say, a 9mm or even, you know, all the other calibers, but you get over 21, you get 20 bullets plus one in the pipe, so 21 bullets is actually pretty good. And I used to not think it was good until my roommate, who is also a YouTuber, Kane was basically discussing that if people run with a defensive perk, they need an extra bullet anyway. So he was talking about the damage model outputs don't really make a whole lot of sense, only because, you know, if people are running defensive perk on the medics, then they need an extra bullet. So then the 3 shots with the 45 to the chest is just not really applicable anymore. So it starts making those lighter guns with more bullets seem a little more, I don't know, they just seem like a more viable option. This is the 1911, it's a 45, it does roughly 34 damage, but I mean that's constantly changing with patches, so in theory this is a 3-shot kill at close range if you know, say get it in the chest. But this gun only holds 8 shots, and the cycling rate is painfully slow, so super painfully slow, and the gun runs dry really fast, so I don't recommend rapid firing. The problem with this gun is that really, I mean, it's like a shitty revolver is what it feels like, because it kind of, you have to use it like it's a revolver because it has so few bullets and shoots so slow, but then it does like way less damage than a revolver, so you're getting like a mediocre revolver that carries 2 extra bullets. So while I do like this gun in real life, I cannot stand it in Battlefield 4, and I don't know, like I don't see any reason to carry the 1911 unless you're a straight fanboy over the 1911. So beyond that, I mean, I don't know, this to me is one of the worst guns in the game actually, is the 1911, but okay, the 93R is more in line with the submachine gun. So remember when I said the Glock 18 was a submachine gun that was shitty? The 93R is a submachine gun that's really effective. So honestly, this 93R is probably the best pistol in the actual game. And you know, if a level 100 and something guy kills you, a lot of times he's carrying this. And, I mean, yeah, honestly, this really is one of the best pistols in the game, although I can't stand carrying it because it's a Beretta, it's 3-round burst, it's just really silly to me. Like, I would not want a 3-round burst pistol in real life, so I know it's video game land and it's make-believe, but honestly, that's part of my issue, is that I just can't deal with 3-round burst on a pistol. I don't like the idea of you only get, like, I don't know, 6 or 7 trigger pulls before you have to reload. So even though you have 20 shots, I don't like only getting, you know, 6, 7 trigger pulls and then, yeah, I'm reloading. So even though it has a lot of bullets, it kind of acts more like a lower capacity gun just because of the 3-round burst. You could rapid fire in single shot, and you could switch it to 3-round burst, so, I don't know, something to think about. The CZ75, to me, is like the QSZ, where I've never really used it. So I ran through the firing range with it and, you know, gave it a quick little run through. And yeah, I mean, it feels comparable to the other pistols, but it just doesn't hold that many bullets, and not, I don't know, definitely kind of like in the middle, where not the worst. It's definitely better than the 1911, better than the Compact 45, but I don't see how it would necessarily be better than like the FN57 or even the SIG, or I don't know. I just feel like you could do a lot better than this 11-shot CZ75. I assume the Czech, I assume it's a Czech gun. I think CZ is made by like Chechens, but I don't know, I could be wrong. What is the next gun on the list? Oh, that's right. That's right. The Compact 45. Now, in real life, this gun is made by HK, which is Heckler & Koch, and they made a full-size USP, and the Navy SEALs use the Mark 23. And you can also buy a full-size USP, but this is the tiny little compact USP, although in the game they don't call it a USP, but it's a universal service pistol. This was my favorite gun of the game until the higher capacity 9mm kind of made me prefer them because of the damage model. So I don't like this gun anymore, and I used to like it. I have all the unlocks for it, but honestly it fires too slow, doesn't hold enough bullets, and yeah, I mean, you'll shoot 2 to 3 bullets in a guy's chest and he won't go down. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I just want a gun with a lot of bullets that shoots fast. If I have to riddle a guy full of bullets, then at least give me a pistol that, you know, will allow me to do so quickly and effectively at close range. So yeah, the rapid fire on this is really atrocious compared to a lot of the other guns, and with the exception of the 1911, it's really hard to find a gun that shoots slower than this. So, not a very effective gun. It has the exact same stats as the 1911, so if you are carrying the 1911 and you do like that, then you probably should carry the Compact 45 because it does everything identical and it carries more bullets, so... We're now on the Magnum M412 Rex, and there's 2 revolvers in the game, and you have to think of a revolver as more of a medium to long-range weapon. It is not... I mean, yeah, I know some guys can use it for close quarters, just like you could a bolt-action sniper rifle, but that is not the application for this gun. So, if you're running a submachine gun or a shotgun, then you might actually want to consider rolling with a revolver as your secondary weapon, because now when you have guys to medium to long range, you actually have some options, whereas with a shotgun or a sub, or maybe even a carbine, you're not going to have a lot of options when a guy is about 80 yards out or 80 meters out. So, with the revolvers, there's 2, and the 44 Magnum is a little more damage. This is the slightly weaker of the 2, however, it's faster firing and it reloads quicker. So, it really is one of those things where, you know, pick your poison. Do you want the revolver that's completely beastly? I mean, the 357 Magnum is a little less beastly than the 44 Magnum, but it is by no means a wussy gun. So, definitely a nice revolver, and I wouldn't feel bad if I picked this up off a dead guy. So if I picked up a guy with an M412 Rex with some bullets, I'd be like, alright, I can kill a couple people and get some work done. And it has that nice cowboy feel, so... And also, the way the gun cracks open, that looks like a Schofield from the Wild West, so I'm like, you get a lot of cool points with that thing, so... You don't get as many cool points with the M412 Rex, though, compared to the 44 Magnum. So this is the coolest, Dirty Harry, awesome Clint Eastwood cowboy. I mean, you could kill a bear with this thing in real life. So running around Battlefield 4 with a 44 Magnum, you definitely feel like you got some damage output options. So you definitely don't feel like weak behind this gun. So this thing really puts people down. And yeah, if you're rolling with an extremely close quarters primary weapon, then I really do recommend this 44 Magnum for long range. You really don't have to lead with the bullet speed or the bullet drop, but you do have to lead with the mechanism. So every time you pull the trigger, the hammer will go back, the cylinder will rotate. It takes a little while. So that's the only tricky thing with the revolvers, is that you kind of have to pull the trigger and aim and keep aiming on a moving target, because it's going to take a little while for the gun to actually go off. So I do consider the revolvers to be the highest skill weapons of all of the pistols. So, I mean, yeah, if you're a master at Battlefield, then I do recommend getting comfortable with these revolvers, because, yeah, you'll get a lot of work done. Single headshot at this range would actually kill a guy. So, yeah, you can definitely get a lot of work done with these 44 Magnums. So, the last thing I'm going to discuss is sort of my favorite secondary weapon, although it's not always appropriate. I will say that the thing we're about to show has definitely a faster rapid fire rate than this 44 Magnum, which is a joke. But it's the Shorty 12 gauge. So this thing literally shoots about as fast as the revolvers when you're pumping and shooting, which is funny to think about. But it's not a pistol. It goes in that specialty weapon category. But my playstyle, typically I'm carrying a DMR, which is a single shot, or I'm carrying a 3-round burst assault rifle or carbine. So because I have a medium to long range-ish primary weapon, I really like having the pump action shotgun for close quarters. So I do feel like if I'm carrying a shotgun and say a DMR with a couple optics on the DMR, I honestly feel like I can deal with every situation in a gunfight. So between my Mark 11 with my 4x scope and my iron sights, and then this shotgun as a backup, I can pretty much deal with everything. But that's just me, and that might not be for you. And yeah, check out the damage model on that. So hopefully that was helpful, and I will see you on the battlefield.